Assuming you have watched the companion video, Creating a Pivot Table, you know how to create a basic pivot table by dragging fields to the various pivot table areas. The current video expands on these options by showing different placements of fields in the rows, columns, and filters areas. A follow-up video will discuss options for fields in the values area. The same online order dataset you see here will again be used for illustration. I have already created a basic pivot table, breaking total spent down by customer region and customer gender. This is a popular layout with one field in the rows area and another in the columns area. However, there are many other options. Just keep in mind that any number of fields can be in any of the areas. The only downside to using a lot of fields in one of the areas is that the resulting pivot table becomes difficult to understand. Here are some possibilities. First, I will drag customer gender to the rows area. Now you see the same information as before, but in a different layout. Note that when two fields are in the rows area, one is the outer field and one is the inner field. For example, the current pivot table shows totals for each region in bold, and it breaks these down by gender in the two cells below. If you want to reverse the roles of the fields, you can drag the gender button above the region button in the Fields pane. Second, you can place both fields in the columns area, in either order, although I think you'll agree that this layout isn't nearly as appealing. Third, you can have two fields in the rows area and another field, such as purchase day, in the columns area. Again, you can have two or more fields in any of the areas, arranged as you like. As an example, I'll place all three fields in the rows area. Finally, it is possible to add one or more fields to the filters area. I'll put region in the rows area, gender in the columns area, and purchase day in the filters area. The resulting pivot table breaks down total spent exactly as before because all purchase days are shown. However, I will filter out all days except for Saturdays and Sundays. Now the pivot table totals are for weekend purchases only. As another example, I will drag purchase time to the filters area as well and show only afternoons. Now the pivot table totals are for purchases on weekend afternoons only. If desired, I can clear these filters easily. In summary, there are two things to remember from this video. First, you can have any number of fields in any of the pivot table areas. Second, if you have multiple fields in an area, you can rearrange their order by dragging them in the Fields pane. Each possibility shows equivalent data, but in slightly different layouts.